Welcome back everyone for the third video we're working on today, although I'm not sure this one will get out in time. We are going to talk about the aircraft, the planes, not the jets, we cover the jets, that were leaked in this latest leak. And there's some good ones in here. Now before I get on with the list itself, we all have to keep in mind that just because something appeared in a leak, was found in the files, or anything like that does not guarantee that it's actually going to come into game. Don't get too hyped, but I have a good feeling that a good number of these will eventually find their way into game. So starting off with the best, the United States, there was 4 planes found that would be going to them. First off was just a simple A-20A, like the A-20G, but an earlier variant. In my opinion, more Havocs is always welcome. Being an earlier variant, it will probably not have 50 cals in the nose. And in terms of bombs, I have really no idea. The next one down is the P-35, which is an aircraft that developed into the P-43, which developed into the P-47. But not to totally overshadow this plane's existence, it was armed with 2 30 cals and 2 50 cals, and did actually see combat when the Japanese invaded the Philippines. There's also the PBM-5A, which also is not the first time to be spotted. This same was added to the files along with the other 2 that are currently in game, though eventually, over time, they had disappeared. Perhaps maybe we're finally going to see the third one added. And finally is the F2G2, which looks just like the F2G1. I was wondering what the difference is, and I noticed it. This one only has 2 gun ports on each wing, so it probably has 20mm cannons opposed to 3 50 cals. Generally what I hear about the F2G is it's not exactly that great, but perhaps maybe some stronger weapons could really change that up. For British aircraft found, there was 7 of them. And I'm going to start off with the cursed Spitfire, the Spitfire Mark 7. It's a Spitfire but weird. It's got pointy wings. Perhaps the concept was to cut the enemy wings off with your own, like swords. Well actually, my highly accurate source Wikipedia states that the pointy wings are for high altitude combat. Besides that, I can't really read anything else about this variant of the Spitfire. Probably only has 2 20mm cannons and some rifle caliber machine guns. Beyond that, there was 3 twin engine planes, the Whirlwind Mark II, which we already have the first one in game, and I believe when the first one is added, this one was added to the file that never came its way to game, so here it is again. Then we have the Wilkins F Mark I and Mark I Late, which I think is a similar story to the Whirlwind. Now I think the Wilkins is just a Whirlwind with longer wings, maybe some other flight performance, but generally I don't really like twin engine fighters. They're not as effective as normal fighters. The Wilkins is armed with 4 20mm Hispanos, like everything else that's British, and had a max speed of 620 kilometers an hour. It was intended for high altitude combat, so probably will do best up there. Then there was the Martin Baltimore, which you can compare to many other low tier British bombers. However, this one has a bit more guns, about 4 rifle caliber guns in its wings. Probably depending on who used the thing, changes on what guns it is, because the US also made use of this, and they probably used Browning M1919 machine guns, while I assume the British used 7.7 machine guns. And finally, there may have been 2 variants, or maybe different skins of it, because I have 2 images, the Shackleton Bomber, which is a bomber I've been wanting in the game for quite some time. Not that I actually play bombers. Bombers are boring, but it's because this is the happiest bomber. That's basically it. I don't know much else details about it. Apparently the guns are only 20mm, but you can get some 2 on the front, 2 on the back, I think. So that's pretty good performance. It also can carry 10,000 pounds or 4,536 kilograms of bombs, which is a good amount, but probably not like I would consider top tier bomber payload. For France, there was 2 planes spotted, the MB-151, which was one of the few planes that took part in the Battle of France. We technically already have this in game. We actually have the MB-152 as a unique event vehicle, so it would be nice to see the 151 as a main tech tree variant. I'm not sure about this one's armament, but the one we have in game, the 152, is armed with 2 20mm guns and 2 7.5mm guns. I presume the armaments are probably similar. Also was found was the Senko 200, which was a competing design with the D520 that was unfortunately underpowered, though it may have seen combat in the Battle of France defending the factory in which it was built, and even may have shot down a bomber according to Wikipedia. Like the D520, was armed with a singular 20mm machine gun in the nose and 2 7.5 machine guns in the wings, and had a max speed of 550 kilometers an hour. The general design of the plane is kind of weird, but I like weird French planes, so I wouldn't mind seeing it in game. There was 3 Japanese planes found, but it was actually nothing new. First off was the GAN-2, which had been in the files for quite some time. I think since the GAN-1 has been in game. but I'm not so sure about that. The difference between the 2 and the 1, I don't think there's too much. I think the 2 was able to drop the Baka bomb, or maybe it was something else. I don't remember, but generally they're kind of the same plane. Next is the G5N1 Elite, which is a G5N1, but it has some of those weird upward facing guns to shoot down bombers right behind the cockpit, as well as the usual armament. This plane was one of the planes that was leaked quite some time ago when a modeler had accidentally made a lot of images public. So this is like the second time it's been leaked. And finally, for the Japanese, is the Ki 45 Ko Tai, which is a variant of the Ki 45 that we don't have in game currently. Wikipedia unfortunately uses a different naming scheme than War Thunder is, so the exact specifications of this variant I am unsure, but from observation it seems to have the upward facing guns as well as 2 forward facing machine guns, and I assume a 20mm or perhaps 37 right below the nose. Russia received 6 new planes in the dev server, at least I think so. So starting off, we have 3 different types of lags. I'm not sure what the first 2 are. They're just lags. They look like any old early lag. And then was the G37, which actually was already there, sort of. They probably removed it, but then added it back here. In fact, it had been data mined 6 years ago. It's the strange oddities like this that make me say that I don't think we should anticipate every single vehicle in this leak list to come to the game, really ever or anytime reasonable. But anyways, past that lag, there is the IL-2 Series 3, which is an IL-2. I don't care about an IL-2. A vehicle that somebody was hyped for some reason was the MDR-6. It's a float plane for Russia. I have almost nothing else to say about it. Carries bombs, has 2 engines, nose and dorsal turret. Cool, I guess. Actually, I do have one more thing to say about it. This too was a vehicle that was leaked by that one modeler a few years back. So once again, we have a plane that had been leaked for a second time. And finally for Russia is a Spanish SV2M100A, which I'm pretty sure was also in the files for quite some time. I'm not anticipating a Spanish tech tree anytime soon, and this would be a really disappointing event vehicle. Like, there's already like 4 or 5 of these in game. Then there was one plane for China, the P26A 35. Nothing too interesting to write home about. They did use these things, so I guess you could put it in their tree. And the last plane that we know is for War Thunder would be the BF-110C3, another variant of the BF-110, which I'm sure many players would love to see. My thoughts were, oh, another BF-110 for Germany. Germany already has a bunch of them, didn't really care. That's why I saved it for last, until I realized the markings on this plane are a bit different. Normally, Germany either keeps the tail section blank or has their spooky X on it. However, this one has a white plus on it, which isn't typical of Germans. And then searching for images of the plane, I find that it is a Italian BF-110, perhaps a main tech tree version to go along with their premium BF-110 and to help bolster out the heavy fighter line. Could be a pretty good one. Now, that's actually not all the planes that were found. That's just all the planes that could possibly be added. You see, there's some weird ones. 2 Cessnas and a PA-18. First Cessna was a 172 and the second was a 208. Now, I was very confused about this. And I thought maybe we're going to have some sort of weird Microsoft Flight Sim early April Fools. But actually, according to the data miner Gatsby99, they are for Darkflow's new game, To the Skies, which I assume is a flight sim type game. But like, Darkflow, aren't you working on Enlisted? That game's not even out yet. You're already making a new one? However, if Gaijin is collecting the rights to be able to put Cessnas in their game, I say, why not add the Battle Cessna? But that's just about all the aircraft that I can talk about in this video. There are technically more. There are helicopters. I think I'll do that video next. Not nearly as many, and I feel it'd be odd to add props and helicopters together, though it would put this video over the 10-minute mark, and I can make that sweet, sweet ad money. Anyways, a big thank you to my Patrons, YouTube members, and Twitch subs. Thank you very much, guys. Any comments, questions, concerns about the content you see here, you should be able to ask me in the comments below or my Discord. Be sure to hit the bell icon to be notified when I upload my next video pertaining these links that should be about helicopters. And in the terms of bonus news, I made this. I don't know why I made it, but I did. I hope you enjoy.